Hello, and welcome to another episode of Myths and Stories, a Destiny 2 lore podcast. We are continuing our kind of overarching master series of the Bray family, but our last episode was the end of our uh, kind of inter-series about Clovis Bray and the inception of the Exos. And so now we're going to be focusing on a different member of the Bray family, and that is Wilhelmina Bray, specifically her work on SIVA. And so we've got a couple of things we're going to go over. And the first of which is that SIVA was not always SIVA. It used to be something else.
Turns out ideas are not exclusive to Braze.
Yeah, so Wilhelmina is definitely the one that is credited for SIVA, but maybe isn't the one that invented the foundational technology.
Oh no!
I know. Who would have thought?
Well, and something I want to state here. This is
Yeah,
this is this is kind of our like rewind in time again. So
a little bit. Yeah.
everything that y'all heard in the last few episodes with Clovis and the Exos, what we're going to start talking about now is happening at the same time that all of that is happening at. It's just a different Bray member is doing this. So we're kind of like, as far as like a timeline of like the Brays, we're kind of like rewinding to kind of an earlier time during the Golden Age.
Yep.
Where the travelers obviously been to Mars, been to Venus, all the places, and life is good, life is great, and scientific advancement is through the roof.
Yeah, you'll, for those that listen to the EXO series or the EXO portion of this, you'll remember there was a spot in there where Elsie went around and revisited family members, and one of those was Wilhelmina. And during that meeting, Wilhelmina was telling her like, "Hey, look at this awesome thing that I'm working on," and that was SIVA. So you can kind of like the inception of the technology called SIVA was around the same time period as Elsie becoming an EXO. So you can use that a little bit as an idea of where this lies in relation to everything else. So to get things rolling, we're actually going to reference a event that happened in Destiny 1 prior to the Rise of Iron expansion. And in I think it was the week, maybe 2 weeks leading up to that expansion, Guardians would find these little flittering motes of little mechanical bugs, nanites that would float around their heads that had different colors. I think there was like blue and yellow, and I want to say there's a green one, but they had these little motes that were floating around their head, and they became known as transmission. And people were wondering, like, okay, what are these? What is this all about? And there was actually a group of guardians, specifically, I believe, the members of the Hidden, that were investigating these little motes, trying to find out, are they dangerous? Should we be worried? Guardians are just infecting each other, because when one guardian got close to another, they would kind of hop over to that other person. And it was discovered that, yes, they were dangerous. They could incapacitate a guardian in a very significant way. And so these members of the Hidden started combing through information about these things to try and see, like, do we know what this is? What has someone else dealt with this in the Golden Age? Is there tech that we could try and find that would help with this? And what they ended up coming across is something that has been cataloged as Project Transmission. And if you do a search for the transmission crisis on Ishtar Collective, you'll get some of the cards that came out of the transmission event in D1.
Now, were these in-game cards that you could collect, like the Grimoire stuff from D1, or was this a like an ARG thing, or was it something that Bungie just put out on forums? Where was this information originally?
So I'm fairly certain that it was Grimoire.
Okay.
I don't remember 100%. I feel like
I
it
know
was
it's so
Grimoire
long ago.
entries.
We're pushing 10 years of Destiny now, Myth. This is
Yeah, I know.
this shit's time is starting to pass in real time now, and I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, much less what I had for breakfast 10
I
years
know.
ago.
I'm not
Shit.
okay with it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Grimoire. If not, it would have been a ARG like that they put out through their Twitter or their social media platforms at the time. And I'm actually gonna redact something I said earlier. I attribute it to the hidden. That's incorrect. This was discovered information from the Owl Sector, and the Owl Sector is something that people may not know about.
I was going to say, is this like another sect like the Praxic Order? That's a hard word to say.
Yes and no. So the Owl Sector does work and did work very closely with the Vanguard in relation to scientific discoveries and inquiries. The difference is that the Owl Sector is made entirely of mortal human scientists. They are
Okay.
not guardians. They are just plain old civilians that have dedicated
Okay.
their knowledge and time to be of assistance in those sciences. Another tie between the Brays and Owl Sector, although much later than Transmission, is Anna Bray. She has a significant other named Cameron, who is a Owl Sector member, and is also the one that assisted Anna in a decent amount of discovery about who the Brays were and kind of who Anna was back in the Golden Age when Anna was originally going through trying to discover more about her past. Yeah.
Very cool.
And that's primarily in the Warmind comics that came out for D2. So that's where that info's
I
at.
think I have those. Was that like the little collection of like hardback? I want to say it was a hardback
Yep.
collection of them.
They published a hardcover that was all because there was like 4 or 5 different comics. One was Osiris, one
Yeah.
was Anna, one was Cade. So yeah, it's in there.
Yeah.
But so Owl Sector again, mortal scientists are trying to discover what's plaguing these guardians essentially, and they come across these different research notes from a Dr. Shirazi in regards to these little particles that are now floating around guardians. And they discovered the particles had different names. There was brilliance, fortitude, glory, magnificence, and splendor were the code names for these particles. And they were expected to enhance the person subjected to them in one way or another. Meant to improve their immune system or give them superhuman strength or allow them, super speed, stuff like that. And Dr. Shirazi was the one heading this research. And so a good portion of what we're going to go through today is the research notes of Dr. Shirazi chronologically about the different tests that were being done and what the outcome was. And we'll see how that all transitions into what we know as SIVA. So without further ado, we're going to start off here. It's going to be difficult to reference an exact card for each of these because the cards on Ishtar Collective, at least, and I think as you got them in game, are jumbled as far as chronologically. They are not in order. So I have sorted them chronologically, but that also means I can't necessarily reference the particular card one came from without doing a lot of back and forth. So just know these are all part of the transmission crisis, and you can do an Ishtar Collective search for that if you want to see the original source. But we're going to start with the very first entries from Dr. Shirazi as this study is getting started, and they say, "I am eternally grateful for the opportunity to work with Clovis Bray. No more clawing for research grants, no more hopping universities. The volunteers enlisted for this study are likewise in good spirits. Patient A, Susan, believes with all her heart in the colonization effort and will do anything to support it. 12 hours have passed since injection with Magnificence 2.0, and her vital signs are strong. She does complain of phantom insects, though. Regrettably, patient B entered a coma minutes after injection with Brilliance 3.2. Vital signs remain normal, homeostasis preserved. While cause for concern, I do not think it necessary to table this study and will proceed. Patient D, Yaris, is here to support his family. Clovis Bray allowances are sufficient but not generous, and there's another child on the way. He is sorry to be separated from them, but glad for the volunteer stipend. No changes in general health were observed after injection with Fortitude 3.1, but the volume of his voice decreased significantly and is at present a whisper. Unexpected, but still no cause for alarm. Patient E, June, has been uncooperative. Laughed unpleasantly when I told him he would receive Glory 2.1. You're running prototypes in parallel because it's cheaper and faster, he had told me. No ethics board on Earth would approve, but I don't have a choice since I'm neck deep in debt to Clovis Bray, he said. I wish we had tweaked these elixirs to modify disposition as well. And that's the end of the first set of entries.
So it's kind of harping back to the original, the very first entry we read about Clovis Bray Industries of "We want your grandchildren," right? So, and not just in like the physical sense, not like, hey, give me your babies. Like they want the ideas there, and so obviously this scientist working with Clovis Bray or with the Bray Industries. All these volunteers that are like, as much as we tote Clovis himself, Clovis Bray being this evil, maniacal, egotistical piece of shit that Anna refers to as such as well. He was very brilliant, and the Bray industry, the company itself, was very prestigious, and it was very much like if you were a expert in your field and you wanted to further advance your field or make further discoveries in your field of science, you went to Bray. That's where you went to Bray Tech Industries. That's where science rules. And we're seeing that here. And obviously with any type of science, and as shitty as it sounds, specifically with human testing, you need
Yep.
patience. So, and there's obviously to be expected things. One guy ends up in a coma. Some other have phantom pains and phantom insects and side effects of, they've lost their voice now. It's barely a whisper. So far, the result isn't death. So maybe clinical trials are working as intended. But yeah, that's what we're seeing here is a very yeah, it's very scientific, and I know human testing is bad. let's put that one out there first and foremost. But I do like this idea of come be the best scientist you can be at Clovis Bray or not at Clovis Bray, at Braytech Industries. Yeah. Like that's my thought is I like the science behind it, albeit kind of morally and ethically, not kind of, completely morally and ethically wrong.
Just a bit.
But yeah,
and it does. There is a different read coming from Dr. Shirazi versus someone like Clovis Bray, where Shirazi is specifically like, yes, they're patient ABDC, but he's also naming them. This is the person that
it's not naming of the pigs.
Right. Knows their name, knows why they're there. One person believes in colonization. The other person is just hard up for money. The other person is just thinks it's all stupid, but is in debt to Clovis. So like,
it's right. Pay him back
it's
somehow.
Just, they're establishing a little more personal relationship with these test subjects than Clovis does in his studies.
So not everyone at Bray Industries is an egotistical, maniacal asshole out to rule the universe. Some of them are good scientists.
Yeah, a little overzealous at times, but good intentioned at least. So we're going to get into the second set of notes. So those were all part of the 1.0 series of notes about this research. And now we have 2 entries for the 2.0 series. And things are starting to get a little weird. So, Dr. Shirazi notes, Patient A remains healthy and cheerful, despite a low buzzing in her ear. She has referred to the phantom insects so frequently and with such confidence that I'm starting to imagine them. Blue, darting things. There's a word for this phenomenon, where the patient's reality becomes the researcher's, but I do not remember it. We did tag this variant with a blue colorant for our own scans, but the patient should not have known. I will simply call it a coincidence. Patient C reports yellow artifacts on the edge of her vision, but remains excited about the potential of this project. She argued for taking strength and intelligence tests 3 times a day rather than daily. I saw no harm in this. There were clear improvements in her performance even 6 hours after injection, in line with results from the other conscious patients. This innovative therapy holds great promise for our colonization program. We can cut years off the construction timetable of a city. We can reduce the decompression and adjustment period of new colonists. This is a world-changing study, and I am glad to have such a motivated subject. And that's the last of the 2.0 notes.
So this is where that color correlation is starting to happen, right? Like these patients are seeing, and again, it could all just be in their head. Presumably, nobody is seeing these little things floating about their heads or anything. But yeah, that's the color variations we're starting to see, and I do like the one that's like, well, I want more strength tests, I want more intelligence tests, because it's almost like it's not almost like it is the serum, super soldier serum, that's what I'm going to start calling it now, is working. This patient is starting to have more strong. They're starting to become stronger. They're starting to become more intelligent. They're starting to eat through these tests that they're throwing at them. But then, of course, there's a bit of concern there, at least in my mind, that this could be over potent.
Yeah. Yeah, so the color coordination is coming out, and like we said, when we saw these on Guardians in game, there were different colors for the different types of transmission particles that had been picked up by each Guardian. And yeah, it seems like there were different aspects that were targeted by each type of transmission particle.
Now I'm curious if in game, like the one that was attributed with strength, did like your strength stat get increased?
I don't remember.
I mean, that would have been super cool. Like, again, we're trying to pull memories back from D1 that, like, holy shit, there's been a lot of stuff since then. So yeah, that would have been super neat if they had done that in game, because then you would have seen that
Right.
correlation there, right? Like you would have seen that hey, I picked up this red thing. I've got more strength. Sweet. Hey, you picked up that yellow thing. Your supercharge is like fucking crazy fast. You're super brilliant. Like that, I think that would have been kind of neat. But I don't remember if that
If
was the
it
thing
was,
or
I don't remember it having that dramatic of an effect. It might have had a minor boost, but it wasn't like, you just shaved 2 minutes off your super or anything like that. From what I recall, at least.
Yeah, because that wouldn't be OP as
right?
shit.
Yeah. But so, some concerns. They're seeing these, claiming to see these different colored kind of artifacts in different ways. But Shirazi is excited to have test subjects that are excited about being a part of this, and still everyone seems very optimistic overall. And now we get into the third set of notes. I can see them now. Blue, bead-like or bee-like particles swarming around patient A's head. I wonder what took me so long. This effect was not intentional. We directed the nanoparticles to strengthen the subject's immune system, reinforce skeletons, exoskeletons, joints, and musculature, and accelerate synapse and logic board signaling. This should all have been invisible and internal. What do these new motes mean? This is the second day that patient B continues comatose. Hydration and nutrition support have been enabled. Vital signs are still good, and green particles appear to accumulate on his lips and nostrils. I have not observed similar consequences for other patients, and I am wondering if this is an idiosyncratic reaction. Yaris can't speak or make any sound at all now. We do not know whether this condition is permanent. He lets me know what he requires, whether water or food, by typing, but has been reserved about his own thoughts. I find it difficult to look him in the eye now. And that's the end of the third set of notes.
That's what happens with medical testing, man. Shit goes sideways real quick.
Yeah, and we've got the yellow artifacts around, the vision of one patient. We have the now visible blue particles buzzing around another. The comatose patient has green particles forming, in their mouth and their nose.
Which to me makes me think something is happening there. Like they may appear comatose, but and I know there's been tons of studies about this, and obviously people have been in comas and come out of comas and said they were fully conscious, they could hear everything in the room and everything. Like, so presumably this comatose patient is still conscious, because So I mean, it could be something could be happening there, like that comatose patient can't communicate to everyone around him, obviously because he's comatose. But yeah, so he could absolutely be having some type of enhanced something. We just can't see it.
Yeah, something is going on there. But we're starting to see, like, before it was like, oh, that's weird, and now it's getting into like, oh, that's a pretty big side effect.
Because this is starting to become visible to everyone, right? Like the scientist is seeing this now. Like the people that are administering these tests are starting to visibly see these things. Whereas, like in the entry two, it was like, hey, they're reporting that they are seeing them, and I think I might be seeing them.
Yeah.
But now it's a full on, like, everyone sees these things.
And it's worth pointing out that this is the second day of this study. Because they say
Jesus.
this
shit's going fucking fast.
right. They say that patient B has been comatose for now the second day. So this is this was not a gradual process. It happened over the course of 48 hours that these events started happening.
Jesus.
So now we get to the fourth set of notes, which only has 2 entries, but they go like this. Patient A appears to be walking 2 inches above the ground. It is unclear why this has happened. The soles of her feet have turned blue. She is alarmed and delighted by turn. This, of course, complicates our strength testing. June, on the other hand, has refused to perform required strength and intelligence tests. He has accused me, Wila Bray and Bray Corporation of nefarious purposes 32 times since injection. Bray destroys the world to remake it in their own image. That's their goal. Look at me, the first step to your perfect colonist. But I'm just a prototype. You know what happens to prototypes, don't you, Dr. Shirazi? I'm honestly not sure how this subject passed the psychological screening. Visual observation suggests good health despite the nimbus of white particles that now spin around his head. That's the end of the fourth set.
I love the spin you put on his voice. I imagine this like, they're coming for my brains, man. They're in the fucking trees, bro. That's what I imagine this guy, this fourth patient who has like the white stuff floating around him now. Yep. Like, that's not white motes, that's cocaine.
That's kind of how I envision Shirazi probably sees this person.
Yeah. Don't know how this guy passed the psych eval. He's seeing fairies and shit. I don't know what the government's coming for. Clovis is coming for our brains, man. That's what. Yeah, that's what I envision now. Is this fourth guy who's just completely refusing everything? Like, nah, man, y'all can't stick that probe in me, man. That's what the aliens did, and now look at me. Yeah,
yeah.
That's what's. Yeah. That's what I'm seeing here. But yeah, but I mean, floating 2 inches off the ground though, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
but freaky.
Like, and even the patient, even the patient is like, this is kind of scary, but it's also kind of cool. Like,
I could fly. I flew today. I fly every day now. Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of feel like I'd have the same reaction, honestly.
Yeah. And this is only like 3 days worth of testing. 3-4 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, this is rapid. This is like stories like this is what like freaks me out about nanotechnology. Like, when I think of like any type of sci-fi nanotechnology, it's always like super rapid. Like, when the one thought that I always come back to is the replicators of Stargate. And that shit was scary as hell. Like, if something like that were to actually happen, where it has like no command other than just replicate, that's the only command they know. that's fucking terrifying. And so for like all of these super soldier serums that are nanotechnology to be this rapid is kind of scary, like genuinely terrifying.
It really is. Like, I mean, it's sci-fi, but it gets less and less sci-fi every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Huh. So this leads us to the fifth note, because there's only one. And there's an alarming development. This note reads, yesterday, with a wild yell, patient B sat up and then started singing and dancing. I tried to calm him, but was unsuccessful. He has not stopped since regaining consciousness. I have heard all the songs of his childhood, half of the pop hits of the past century, and now improvise ballads of his own life. He has owned 2 dogs and 6 cats, and I now know all of their names. And that's the end of that entry. So this was the comatose patient.
Apparently, green serum turns you into a bard. That's what I kind of Myth. Have I taken the green serum? How many times have I sung in chat?
I was gonna say, I think that might explain some things.
This might just be me. I've taken the green serum. I have green nanomachines floating around my head, and it's glorious. Yeah. He's sung all of Broad. This guy's now my favorite of all of them. He just stands up and nonstop show tunes for 48 hours straight. I love it. It's kind of freaky, again.
Just a bit,
but do love the musical portion of it.
Yeah. Well, I guess don't get too close to your favorite, because the sixth set of notes starts with specifically about patient 2. I ran into his room after it suddenly became silent, but he was already gone. Implying that the patient has died.
Yeah. Yep. That's now I'm sad. I mean, you can only sing so much show tune. Like, Broadway is a very physical thing. Like, that's a lot of
energy.
That's a lot of energy. Like, that's energy got to come from somewhere. And if you can't stop to eat or inject any type of energy, like, gonna run out eventually.
So the remaining notes from the 6th set. Patient A, no. I'll call her Susan. I'll call them all by their names. It breaks protocol, but feels like the right thing to do. Susan took the news in silence. She appears resigned. But I am not resigned. When I disclosed patient B's clinical outcome, as required by exception 31B in the Research Regulations Handbook, patient C said, "How could you do this to us?" And I had no answer. My predecessor's experimental records had not suggested any lethality. A 20% mortality rate would counterbalance the increase in colonist strength, intelligence, and speed. And that's the end of the 6th set.
And like we said before, the side effects weren't death until they are.
Until they were.
And then it's bad. So yeah, that's kind of to be expected on the rest of them. Like, as much as they were, because and from my understanding, most, if not all of these patients were all volunteers, and so
yes,
to volunteer for these clinical studies, and then for death to happen, and for death to happen this soon, like this couldn't have been more than a week now. Like,
right, yeah.
Like now the other patients are genuinely fearful. Like, before it was like, oh man, look how smart I am. Look, I'm floating. I flew today. Like, this is awesome. And one guy's like, well, my voice is getting softer, but I'm feeling pretty damn good. To hey, I literally can't touch the ground anymore, and oh boy over there can't talk anymore, and oh boy over there is dead. Yeah, what the hell, man? It. We haven't even made it back to Sunday. What the hell, man? Now they're all on. Now they're all on White Moat guy. They're coming for our brains, man. Well,
Maybe.
White Mode guy is just completely right. He's just like, I told you so, man. They came for our brains.
I'll say, intentional or otherwise, he might not be far off.
Yeah.
So now we get into the 7th series of her notes. And these ones say, Yaris remains mute. I regret now not incorporating a self-annihilation function in these prototypes. I was too confident. I didn't believe I needed a failsafe. I will propose that we include this in future nanotech development. The mixed blessing is that our results are solid. Further research will be rewarding, yet I find myself hesitating to write the recommendation to proceed. I shared the news with patient. Oh, my bad. I shared the news with June. He said, Everything and everyone dies. The more you try to cheat death, the more you try to profit from life. The sooner we die. Today, I went into Wila Bray's files to look for warning signs. Any hint of what happened to patient B, anything I might have missed. I found only optimistic profit charts and a terse order to suppress some amount of data. The data itself is unavailable to researchers at my access level. Am I complicit? And that's the end of those notes.
That's what happens when scientists get a conscience.
Yeah, they start questioning things.
And then they realize that things aren't always ethical or moral. Yeah. Scientific research is and again, I come back to the idea. I love the science, right? Like, I love the idea of science, but scientific research is a scary thing. Like, it is a genuinely scary thing. Like, I mean, especially when you start doing biological or genetic experimentation, you don't know what the fuck. Like, you're trying to dick around with the building blocks of existence, and that's a dangerous thing to. That's a dangerous game to play.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we end up with like guys like Oppenheimer, and yeah, that's yeah.
So, and I find it just so poetically on the nose that when she goes to try and find more info about a previous study or previous results about this kind of study, all she finds are profit charts.
Yep. Revealing the true nature of the Bray Industries.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't it? I mean, it kind of surprised me, but no, it didn't. It didn't surprise me at all that all it was profit charts and a bunch of redacted info.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, it's worth remembering all of this is under the umbrella of projects controlled by Wilhelmina. And Wilhelmina, when Elsie visited her, essentially was like, grandfather needs to die so that we can inherit the company and put our own stamp on technology and our own path to immortality. So even though she
Apple
was
doesn't fall far from the tree.
right, like even though she was anti-Clovis, she had some pretty similar
anti-legacy.
thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of messed up, but yeah.
She just didn't want him to get there first, essentially.
Yep. I don't want it to say Clovis Bray. I wanted to say Wila Bray.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a better ring to it, doesn't it? Yeah. Evil scientist maniacal laugh ensues.
Just a bit. Just a bit. So we are now on the 8th set of notes. I approached patient C, who has been showing some concern. "I'm doing everything I can," I said to her. "That's not enough," she said, and turned her back. "I do not have the training or the knowledge or the wisdom for this." Project results suggest, experimental outcomes imply. As I write these, I stop and look at Yaris through the glass. He is eating less and losing weight, and now hair. I too am eating less and losing weight. Friendship. It makes us worry more and age faster. Family. Same thing. To June, I said, "You must understand. I'm trying. I wanted to see us among the stars. I ran this study because I dreamed of exploring the unknown and making new places home. I dreamed of the whole universe becoming our home." And June said, "You don't even have a home here. They treat you with suspicion. You're not a Bray. Why did you come to Mars? Do you have no home on Earth?" "I don't," I replied. That's the end of the 8th set.
That's what happens when you get morally involved with your test subjects. That's why they use lab rats now. Like it's so much easier to shuffle off something that can't talk back to you or interact with you on an intellectual level. Like, yeah. That's ouch. Ouch. Hit me right in the chest what that one did.
So we have some like more rapid fire notes here, which seems to imply to me like doing a lot of work and then every now and then quickly kind of jotting down thoughts, and so for the next couple are spread out and are just one-offs for the most part. So the 9th note says, "These prototypes are too deeply embedded in my subject's systems now to extract by force. Organs, neurons, frontal cortex, even complete hemodialysis would be insufficient. I must find another way for Susan, for Yaris, for Kit, maybe even for June." The next note just says, "Forgive me," I said. "Only if," he told me back. I think implying, Shirazi will only get forgiveness if they fix this.
Or kill.
Or kill.
Or end it. Like that's
Yeah. That
fix or end this hell. That's
that only
those are
if.
the two implications there.
Yeah. That only if is a pretty
That's
pretty heavy
big,
connotation.
Yeah.
So the next note, and we went from the 9th note to the 11th note, now to the 12th note. So there's some time gaps here. I'm not sure if each number is the day.
It seems like that so far.
So if that's the case, we're, week and a half-ish. So the 12th note, in regards to Yaris, the mute patient, Shirazi says, "Even if I cure him, would he speak to me again? I've never run an experiment with lethal outcomes or permanent disabilities. I never thought I would." And then the 13th note. Long and sleepless nights. My whole staff in isolation suits, bent over our microscopes. But we have discovered a solution, I think. We have not tested it on patients yet, only pure prototype samples. If we toggle fibrons 7, 21, and 16 across all nanoparticles with pulses of particular wavelengths, enough interference should be generated to render them dormant. I go now to try on Susan, who lost consciousness yesterday. Even prone, she floats an inch above her sleeping surface. So they've been working through, probably since they started to notice some major complications, they've been working on trying to find a solution to this. And they think they finally have.
I like their idea for it. Essentially what they're trying to do is superpositioning theory, which we've talked about a ton in our Light and Darkness series. It's the idea that two wavelengths at the same frequency, but in perfect opposite amplitude, existing at the same time in the same space, will cancel each other out and create a zero a zero amplitude frequency, meaning that it's nothing essentially. And by doing so to these nanites, it's a way to shut them down, because obviously the nanites have to have some type of communication between each other, and it's only logical that communication would exist on some type of frequency. Communication between electronics is all done at even higher frequencies in the megahertz and gigahertz range. But yeah, that's that idea of what that they're trying to do there is that superpositioning theory of canceling out the frequency that all these nanomachines are talking to each other, with something that is just overpowering them essentially. And then since they can't communicate with each other, now they're all dormant.
Yeah.
Since oopsie, forgot to put in a kill switch. maybe write in kill commands next time you program something.
Yeah, like little few safety measures, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
So, yeah, Susan has lost consciousness, and even in that state is floating. But they now have a solution, and they're going to try it on her, because probably if she doesn't get some kind of treatment soon, she's not going to be around much longer. So the 14th note is actually a good one. In this one, Shirazi says, "At least this much of my conscience is clear. Susan left our facilities today, walking on the ground. Not smiling, none of us are smiling. We don't know what the long-term effects might be, but she appears healthy for now." So they successfully treated Susan. She regained consciousness and left the facility not floating.
Yeah, on the ground.
Which is an odd, medical diagnosis.
Right, but it's a successful one.
Right.
So it's like, okay, she's alive and she's not floating anymore. But they don't mention anything about her having any type of super intelligence or super strength anymore. Does she still possess those?
I mean, presumably, if the nanites that caused those things have been turned off, I would assume
it should
that they lose all that.
Should,
in theory.
In sci-fi theory. I love that we keep using logic to explain sci-fi shit, but the best part about it is oh yeah, that does make sense. If the nanites were shut off, then they should lose all that stuff. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And we just accept it. Yeah, no, it's
so one final research note from Shirazi. And this is in regards to Yaris, the mute patient. "Thank you," he said, as he walked out of the facility. A thin, slight shape, against the red light reflecting off the dunes. The last to recover, and the last to leave. After I sent my research staff home, I entered Clovis Bray's data isolation chamber with borrowed credentials. I had to know. My predecessor's annotations are sparse, but I believe the data from previous trials shows mortality rates of 50 to 60% for the last generation of injectable biotech. I should have been informed of this. My report will begin with the words, "Unacceptable. Demonstrated risks preclude further human trials at this time. I must make Wila Bray see that this way lies disaster." So that's the final research note from Shirazi.
Good for you, Shirazi. A scientist with a conscience and a moral good for you. I'm proud of you.
So that is not the last we see of Dr. Shirazi, because we have a few entries kind of showing the follow-up to her meeting with Wila Bray about the transmission particles. And remember, although she had to turn them off and there was a significant risk to the participants, they did work when they were active.
That's true.
Their test showed results of better, intelligence and strength. So we see the continuation of the story in dormant SIVA clusters, which were grimoire cards during Rise of Iron, that they were almost like dead ghosts. There were SIVA clusters spread throughout the Plague Lands and other areas of Rise of Iron that you could pick up, and they would give you a little bit of info, a little snippet of time, and a conversation or two that happened there. So the first is the Dormant SIVA Cluster 1.0. And we see some of that conversation between Wilhelmina and Zarin Shirazi. "I can't, in good professional conscience, recommend further research in this direction without stringent review of protocol and mitigation of the undisclosed lethality risks, which I should have been informed of." Should have been. Is this what you would call insubordination, Zarin? It's a protest. So there's a meeting between, presumably, Wila and Zarin Shirazi, where Wila is like, "Oh, so you wanting to set all of these rules and regulations around this research? That sounds like insubordination to me."
Yeah. In a Bray's eyes, that would
Right.
sound like insubordination. Like that's, yeah. In corporate America, man, that's what it would sound like. Now that's I don't know. I'm starting to really like that guy. Like, I don't know. I feel like he went out of the facility the same way he went in, and just like,
just
man,
confirmed.
Fucking Braves, man. Told you so. But yeah, definitely seeing that level of like, especially on Willa's side, that level of like, oh well, maybe you don't have a job tomorrow.
Yeah.
That would suck.
I mean,
maybe just do what I tell you to do and keep your job.
Considering her grandfather was known for, on multiple occasions, just terminating test subjects when he was figuring out exo things. Like, yeah.
Maybe keep your job or become an exo experiment.
Yeah, we'll just send you to the lab over. You don't want to know what they're doing across the hall.
They don't ever come out. So must be doing good things in there, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's how that works.
The only thing that comes out is these little red bio bags filled with goo. Don't know what that's about. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine. It's all fine.
Also worth noting, they talked about the research patients are being let out into the red horizon. So this is all taking place likely in Meridian Bay on Mars.
Yep. At the I think it's like the official Clovis Bray Industries headquarters is there at Mars. That's where we used to be able to go. Well, shoot, I guess you can technically go there right now during Season of the Seraph.
Through
during
the heist?
The Mars heist.
Yeah.
That takes place in the Clovis Bray Industries, where the at the very end of it is where well, I guess you don't go into the Rasputin portion anymore, do you?
No, not anymore.
No, but that's where the Rasputin, like the main brain for Rasputin was.
But very possible that down one of those hallways we can't go down in the mission. There's a door that leads to, or would lead to, the lab where all of this was going down.
Ooh, maybe it's one of the lost sectors that was there.
Hey, you never know.
That'd be kind of neat.
In a creepy kind of way. Yeah.
Yeah. And like a history thing, not like a, hey, let's go visit these dead test subject areas. Ha ha. Moral compass be damned. Yeah, no, we don't want that.
No, we don't. So we see the continuation of this discussion in the Dormant SIVA Cluster 1.1, in which Wilha says, "You have no history of subversion, Zarin. No marches, no petitions, no action items. We screened you very carefully. Where did we go wrong?" "I don't think you did. I am trying to act in Clovis Bray's best interests." "And how would you know what Clovis Bray's interests are?" And that's the end of that one.
Jesus, we really are seeing. She really is like legacy above all. Like, ugh. Man, the Brays are kind of bad people. Fuck, man. I just had this like quick revelation of like, dude, the Brays they're all shit.
I mean,
except for two of them.
Well, except for one probably and one maybe.
Not so much anymore. Like one Elsie Bray, who has been reset a few times and may not have all of her memories, and one Anna Bray, who isn't technically Anna Bray. She's a guardian who woke up next to a name tag that says Anastasia Bray and is now trying to figure out who Anastasia Bray is and define that as herself.
Yeah, and it's one of, like, Clovis, bad guy.
Yeah.
Wilhelmina,
100%.
Seemingly a bad guy.
Yeah.
Alton, I mean,
dumb guy.
Well, just not the engineer, not the STEM, track of the family.
Right. He's the finance. He's the
right.
the accountant, the paperwork guy. And correct me if I'm wrong. For some reason, I remember you telling me at some point in time during our Clovis stuff where he's like he's more personable. Like he doesn't have any aspirations of like inventions and legacy and all that whatnot. But he's very he can talk to people. He's a people person.
Yeah, he's the one that Clovis relies on to be administration for the business.
Yep.
He's the one that Clovis had clean up the K1 anomaly, and the Clovis Bray company just kind of coming in and yoinking that artifact out of there, and then he left Alton to deal with the aftermath and smooth
all
everything
the fallout
over.
And everything. Yep.
So
be the political PR face of it,
right?
Of like, hey, yeah, nothing. Don't pay no attention to that article of behind the curtain that isn't there anymore. Look over here. Look, shiny keys. Diggly, 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 diggly.
Yeah. So I don't know that Alton is like mad scientist on the same level, but he certainly is complacent So
yeah,
yeah.
I think that's I think that's an astute observation.
But Elsie, I think, is good, or at least has good intentions as far as we can tell. Um, Anna's kind of an interesting one. So she did what ended up being a good thing, with the essentially teaching Rasputin humanity, giving
To
Rasputin,
feel.
right, like
Yeah.
giving him that free will, kind of.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, but we also don't know what else she might have done in pursuit of her research. And it is
Ooh.
interesting to know, as we've seen, she is very stubborn and very driven by getting the answers she wants. And maybe a less perfect version of the Anna Bray we knew that grew up in this crazy family would take some more liberties than Guardian Anna has.
Yeah. I could see that.
So,
But we'll find out more about that when we get to her portion of the story.
yes, we will. But it's interesting going back to the reading here. So Wilha says, like, you have no history of subversion. You have not done any marches or petitions. We screened you, which seems to imply that they're doing this for every employee.
Yeah.
To see,
Like to make sure nobody will do an uprising, to make sure nobody will do some type of like political protest of like, hey, you're testing on humans. Testing on rats and bunnies is one thing, but humans, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah, they're very specifically trying to make sure that they are not hiring people that they think are going to rock the boat.
Yep. Typical corporate Mars, man. It's all conspiracy, man. If I didn't know the money for my cocaine addiction, I wouldn't be here right now, man.
That is like, he was there because he owed them money. So,
That's what I'm saying. Like, was he just a janitor that took an advance or something? Like, what? I want to know more about this guy.
He has exactly like 2 voice lines in the whole thing, and he's the most interesting bit so far.
He's who I've attached to. And you know what that means.
Oh, no. All right.
Did he have a name?
If you don't remember it, I'm not going to remind you.
Damn it! Damn it! That just means I get to name him.
Oh boy. So before that, though, we see the continuation of this conversation. So after Wilha, goes about the like, we screened you, we didn't expect this from you. Where did we go wrong? She then follows that up with, I understand your concerns. You're a good researcher, Zarin. Your work here has been deeply appreciated. So you'll listen. You'll cease this line of inquiry. On the contrary, we'll take your valuable findings and run with them. Your work will live on forever. So, Wilha...
Somebody just got sent off to be an exo test subject.
Yeah, it's not looking too good.
That's exactly what's happening here.
And we can see kind of the reasoning for, outside of the obvious, Wilha knows a little more.
Profit margins.
Willa knows a little more than what she's letting on to Zarin here. And in the next fragment, so this is Zarin saying to Willa, I'm surprised. Although perhaps I shouldn't be. It does save time to run experiments in parallel. I see the benefit to the colonization effort, but I can't support those plans. I won't help you. In which Willa responds, strictly speaking, Zarin, your participation is not necessary. And then she continues, having now evidence, quote unquote, against Zarin. Do you see these access logs? They were flagged by my personal attention. Yes, I see them. Do you see the times on these unauthorized access entries? I do. Would you have any idea who might have been prying into unreleased data, Zarin? And that is the final entry that we hear about Zarin Shirazi at all.
I'm telling you, man. Somebody just got sent off to be an exo prototype.
Absolutely.
Somebody. So I mean, they control. They control. Dude, this is like Jason Bourne. No. What would this be? I don't. There's got to be a movie like this where it's like, hey, I found bad stuff. And then they're like, oh, did you now? You work for us. We rule your life. We control where you sleep. Like,
Yeah.
typical mad scientist corporation owning little guy who just wants to, do good in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sucks. That's a bummer.
Yeah, and if there was any doubt about the ultimate fate of Dr. Shirazi in one way or another, we get some further confirmation and a hint at to how this project continues in the ghost fragment Clovis Bray 2, which is another grimoire from D1. And in it, we are introduced to the character Dr. Zhang, who this is from their point of view. And this one goes, these spires soar like birds into the dusty pink sky. I marvel at this, my new home, the planet I've dreamed of since I was a boy with a telescope, peering at that warm red light, hope for our overcrowded planet. What I've been working on will solve all those problems, developed in these laboratories built to my specifications by my hand-picked team. These nanites will double, triple, maybe even quadruple construction rates, reduce colonist casualties, and serve us in our spread across the system, then across the stars. Our first replication chamber sits beside the Cosmodrome, ready to outfit the colony ships. Dr. Wila Bray herself came to congratulate me. You'll be able to expand soon, she said, into the space currently occupied by the Shirazi lab. Are they relocating? I asked. Moving on to other opportunities. I can't imagine a better place to be. And that's the end of that fragment.
Yeah. Somebody got murdered.
Just a bit.
Somebody either got murdered or exo experimented. I mean, the same thing.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we need a test subject. Well, who's been insubordinate this week? Oh, that's Shirazi. She's yeah. She's been digging into some shit and accessing some logs she shouldn't have put her eyes on.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So, seems like her office is empty now. Yeah, it is now.
Hint.
Fucking craziness, man. Like, yeah, it's just crazy. Crazy talk. But all for the all I can't say all in the name of legacy, but it's definitely all in the name of science. Like that's and in Clovis's mind, that then in turn leads to legacy. So it's like I guess it's kind of one and the same when you're talking about Clovis Bray and Bray Industries, like all for the sake of industry, all for the sake of legacy and science.
Yep.
So yay.
And so now Wilhelmina has the results of this transmission particle testing, knows that it does have an effect, a positive effect, at least for a little while, on human subjects. And she's bringing that lab and presumably that technology to Dr. Zhang, who is also working on a nanite technology specifically for construction, for building things. And
So this is the idea of that, like, give us your grandchildren. Hey, two
exactly.
ideas just came together, and now they've made a baby. Baby idea.
Exactly. And well, that baby Siva.
Yay, baby Siva.
So we see a few interactions between Willa and Dr. Zhang now in regards to just forging ahead with the new SIVA technology. The first of which comes to us from another dormant SIVA cluster. This is in cluster 1.5, in which Willa comes to Dr. Zhang and asks, "What do you have to report, Dr. Zhang?" "Well, full functionality of the test nanites in our 200 tasks across multiple trials and environments. They'll be what Clovis Bray is remembered for hundreds of years from now. All that's left is construction of the replication chamber and initiation of production." "I'm changing project requirements to include a kill switch. Is that feasible?" "Completely, but if I may ask, why that? Why now?" Another scientist on staff, well, formerly on staff, brought up the possibility of undesirable outcomes." "And you believed her?" "Somewhat. She was honest about other matters." So that's those two. Those two fragments, 1.5 and 1.6. So,
So Willa kind of has a conscience?
well, I mean, I don't think she
I
has a
don't know what to make of that,
conscience.
right?
I don't think she has a conscience. I think she has a notion of like, if we're going into production, this could bite us in the ass. So let's have an emergency kill switch so we, worst comes to worst, we're not running into a Horizon situation or anything.
Oh God. that is exactly where my mind went. Yeah, so building in that kill switch, like that's I mean that's what Shirazi wanted to do, kind of in like a retrospect, like, oh
Right.
shit, I should have done that. But now Willa, having had these test results and all this stuff, and relocating, dismembering Shirazi, now has talked to Clovis Bray legal team. They're like, yeah, maybe put in a kill switch. That way we don't have to deal with this in later.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, that's fine. Profits. Yay, profits.
Well, and plus, remember from Wilha's discussion with Elsie, Wilhelmina saw Siva as a means to her own version of immortality. And so
Right.
if she has an intention to use this on herself at some point to make her human body immortal rather than be in a metal body, she's definitely going to want to make sure that she has an out if things go bad.
Yep.
Yeah. So a little bit of time passes after these, and then we see another interaction between them in the SIVA cluster 1.7. And that conversation is, "Does the new research facility meet your expectations?" "It surpasses them. We presented you with a sample of SIVA on your desk 6 months ago, and the The speed of our prototyping was the direct result of your generous budget. Well, Clovis Bray prides itself on its talent and liberality, Dr. Zhang. From construction workers to researchers, we treat our staff like royalty. That's the end of that one.
Until they raise questions about morality.
Right, yeah. And then they do what royalty does, and they behead
They just kill him. Yeah, no,
the sensible one.
Yep. Nope. I'm fault. This. Yep. Checks out.
So a final interaction between Zhang and Wilha in the SIVA cluster 1.9 says this. The complex is ready for whole-scale replication of the SIVA nanite. We're just waiting for your signal to start. Thank you for your faithful service, Dr. Zhang. I look forward to the wonders that come from this replication complex. The new machine age, shall we call it? Yes. Let's begin. And that's it. Presumably, that is when the SIVA replication chamber was officially turned on.
And nanites began
Nanites
pouring
began.
out in hordes and hordes and hordes, and then they became sentient and killed everyone and destroyed the world, and now they've created the Matrix and this little program because they realized they need bodies for batteries. No, wait, wrong program.
Yeah, not quite the same.
Wrong timeline, Elsie. Can you imagine though if like Elsie comes back and she's like, "Man, I went to this one timeline and they were using humans as batteries. I don't know what the fuck that was about, but that was scary, man. There was no light, no dark. It was just batteries, just fields and fields of human batteries.
It was not okay. So now we have something interesting. So SIVA is begun production and presumably now needs to become profitable to, continue their efforts to push forward with it. And, with the end result of Wilhelmina finally having that, immortality elixir in the form of nanites. And so they had to find someone that would be interested in this tech. And, Dr. Zhang's original intention, and even Dr. Shirazi's original intention, was that this would be technology used for making colonization easier. And we see a little bit of the effort to use this as a colonization tech in a conversation between Wilhelmina Bray and another individual, which is most likely someone by the name of General Chen Lensu, who, as best I can tell, is a member of I don't know if military is the right term, but is part of a hierarchy of this colonization program, aka the Exodus Project. And so we have a conversation between these two that goes like this. Let's get right to it. How can Clovis Bray help the Exodus Project? We've found a way to push our matter encryption technology even further. Habitats, equipment, repairs of all kind. All of these things can be made from one material. SIVA doesn't expire, degrade, or forget. It can remain dormant even on long voyages. Nearly any problem a deep space colonist could have, SIVA can fix. And how long do the effects of SIVA last? Well, SIVA requires no external power source, so forever. Just give it a directive and it won't stop until it gets a new directive. This sounds like it could be invaluable to Exodus colonists, but Malahayati has some concerns. General, poorly worded or malicious code is the fault of the programmer, not SIVA itself. Dr. Bray, I'm sure you've realized SIVA's applications extend well beyond colonization. I'm not sure what you mean, General. Is this still about the Exodus program? The Exodus program would be interested in exploring SIVA's defensive applications. General, my team did not intend for SIVA to have military application. Willa, some of history's greatest inventions began as unintended side effects. And that's the end of that conversation.
Yep. Just like any other scientific R&D, the first thing that comes to mind, or the first practical application is typically military. Yeah, so that does not surprise me in the least that a military general is like, "Hey, cool stuff you got there. How can I weaponize this?"
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, doesn't even surprise me there.
And it's hard to tell how much of like Wilhelmina's surprise, quote unquote, about military applications is real, or if she's been like, if she went and talked to this general very specifically expecting that to come up and expecting some additional funding from it.
Yeah. Hooray, look at profits. Yay!
Yay.
Look at my immortality machine. It makes money. What does yours do? Oh, it doesn't matter because you own the company. Right. Forgot that.
Right, yeah. I guess I'm making you profit too. Didn't think about that.
Yay, money.
So where we're going to end essentially our SIVA discussion for the time being, or at least the last lore card for it, is with Ghost Fragment Old Russia 4. And this presumably, well, we'll talk about who it might be from the perspective of when we finish. But it goes like this. I can feel the mites buzzing, pushing against my submind. They try to steal fragments of memory, but I do not let them. They have no will, but they want to be. I exert electronic will, pushing, shaping, forcing stasis on perpetual motion. They are quiet then, but I can still sense them. Where once my cargo holds were full of tools and weapons and material, now they hold, barely contained, possibility. New worlds will be built from these tiny mites. Weapons and cities and ships created by thought and science. I fear my will is not strong enough to shape these worlds. Only the tyrant can do that. But he will not be a part of my journey. Even his reach has limits, and we will be 9 billion miles away. I whisper my concerns to the tyrant in tiny magnetic bursts. He does not listen. The tyrant says take the SIVA. And so I take the SIVA. The tyrant says to go to the stars. And so I go to the stars. And that's the end of that one.
How far away is Neptune from Earth?
Well, that is a good question. So 9 billion miles. Let's see.
I mean, that's the question. Because I have a lot of theories that are gonna like play out in rapid succession here.
So Neptune is only 2.8 billion miles, according to the internet.
Well, damn. 9 billion's got to go past Pluto, right?
Well, and remember, their colonization efforts with the Exodus program was to be, extrasolar, was to be outside of our solar system.
To leave the solar system. Yep. Leave the heliopause.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that makes a certain amount of sense.
Rapid theories playing out. It is someone talking to the tyrant in electromagnetic burst, meaning frequencies. So I'm assuming another war mind or another sub-war mind. Malahayati would be a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
The one that's inside the spire.
Yep. So Terra.
Yep. So Terra, that would be another possibility. So Terra is the one that's starting to like more and more make sense, because Soterra was the one in direct contact with Rasputin saying, hey, there's a threat coming. We should start preparations for stuff.
Right.
To be outside the solar system, to make humanity continue outside the solar system. We know that SIVA was on all these Exodus programs. This general obviously stated as much as that SIVA is in every single one. And now there's this ship, presumably an Exodus ship, that has an AI in charge of it, saying that all of its cargo holds are filled with SIVA, essentially. 9 billion miles away. Like, I don't know, man. Like what? Like,
yeah, I don't know that all of the Exodus ships had SIVA, because thinking about it, from the Spire of the Watcher lore, Soterra talks to Rasputin, the tyrant, and does receive a message. Does receive some conversation with him. Whereas here, this AI is ignored completely by him. Additionally, Soterra very specifically had exos on its ship.
Oh, right.
Because Clovis Bray said something along the lines of like, you're killing every exo on that ship, or you're dooming every exo on that ship.
I remember that one now.
And Soterra was, pilloried into the Spire as a result of their actions.
As like a fail-safe shutdown type thing of like, hey, we're gonna break this AI mind into multiple parts. That way, it's more controllable or jailable, basically.
Right. And as far as like the other exoships go, because I don't think Exodus Black had any SIVA on it.
I think you're right. Failsafe would have said something.
Right. Exodus Green, which the Yang Li Wei.
Yeah. God damn. This is Aramis and Eris Morn and all that shit all over again.
But Exodus Green didn't appear to have any, or wasn't mentioned by Mara, and I have to think she would have mentioned that in the distributary creation.
Yeah.
So maybe it was only one ship. Maybe it was a few, but not all. Hard to say for sure.
Maybe it's like one ship with Exos, one ship with SIVA, one ship with Warmind. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's like the theme here. I don't know. Maybe.
I think Malahayati is a pretty good uh, guess at who this submind or AI is.
Maybe because the general mentioned, and the
Right.
only reason why I bring up Malahate is because the general specifically says, "Hey, Malahate said this,"
Yeah.
and blah 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 blah, and it's like, okay, well maybe that's who's talking to the tyrant, the war mind,
Right.
and the war mind, because then like Rasputin would just see that as like a sub mind, because Malahati isn't a full AI; she is just a sub mind, as is Charlemagne.
Right.
So
They're a
each
piece of the greater
right,
Rasputin whole.
right. So it's like if I feel like Rasputin would freely ignore those if it wanted to. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this thing it's like I don't know, I feel like it's like having like somebody pinch you on the arm or something like that, and Rasputin's just like, I'm just gonna ignore that.
Yeah.
Like a younger sister or something like that, poking you all night.
Well, to draw another Horizon comparison, in Forbidden West, uh, Rasputin is essentially the Gaia, and
Yep.
all of the submines are the different pieces to
Hephaestus and Apollo
right
and
are the different
all of that. Yeah.
pieces of Gaia's full functionality. Same kind of thing. All of these submines are the different pieces of Rasputin's full functionality, and they apparently have a little bit of thought process to themselves at least. Um, but yeah, like to Rasputin, it's it's nothing. He lords over all of them, and you know isn't concerned with their petty worries, kind of thing.
Go, go, go sit in the corner, little sister. I don't care for you now. Yeah, that's the way I think of Rasputin interacting with his submines.
Yeah. So a little bit of a shorter one this week, but you did get a double upload, so we're balancing things out a little bit.
Yeah, we actually got through the SIVA portion of it relatively fast. I
Yeah.
didn't think we'd get through it this fast, but yeah, this kind of this see. I guess SIVA hasn't really played like a front seat like Exos have.
Right.
And the because obviously we have Exo Guardians. The only SIVA thing we have as Guardians is what, the Outbreak.
Yeah. Outbreak. A few exotic ornaments, if you want to count those.
Right.
But
Like
yeah.
there's not a whole lot of SIVA prevalent in present day Destiny. So yeah, I guess it makes sense that SIVA doesn't have like a huge role to play. Um, but it definitely a significant one. And there's more to SIVA's history post collapse.
Yes.
But we just wanted kind of like a single episode here of like, this is where it started, this is where it came from. It wasn't necessarily morally correct or ethically correct to make these nanites, but because science and profits, here it is.
Yep. And if we want to really get into like spinfoil hat theory, maybe if we assume that maybe the ship that Sotera had control over for a little while did have SIVA on board. If it had exos, maybe it had other Braytech.
I think it went to Neptune. I think that SIVA. I think it went to Neptune, man, and then that SIVA was like combined with something else and turned into like Quicksilver or something. I don't know, man. It just seems to fit, man.
I mean, that's essentially I think that's a valid theory. If there was SIVA on the ship that Sotera had control over, it mentions in the Watchtower lore that one of the pods that Sotera launched, one of the Echoes, I think they were called, it got away. Like it was successful in its launch. Now it may have gotten outside the solar system, but maybe it landed before that and ended up on Neptune. And now you have, presumably exos that can live a very long time, if not forever, and SIVA, which, if used correctly, can construct colonies in a very short period of time, as well as defensive measures to protect themselves. Totally possible that was the seed for Neomuna.
Full on theory now, or prediction theory. We're going to find some lore in Lightfall that connects back to some SIVA stuff.
I would be very surprised if we didn't find anything that connected to SIVA in at least some way.
I think we will. I think we'll find something.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so I guess that wraps up SIVA then. Wow, that was quick.
For now. Yeah.
For now. That's wraps up SIVA for now. Wraps up the creation of SIVA. So yeah, that was well, shit. Shout outs, I guess.
Yeah, so we do have a few shout outs this week. So a few of those coming to us from Twitter. The first of which comes to us from Matt, who says, I was literally getting done with the last episode when you posted, speaking about our bonus episode last week. I love this pod. Y'all are awesome. And this is something special for sure. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, when we played through that, we literally, I think within 5 minutes of each other finishing it, was like, hey, we doing an episode on this?
Yeah, pretty much. We also got a very short but sweet message from Y Blessings, who just said, I love you. So
you have no idea the significance of that. Every time someone gets off chat, I literally go, all right, love you.
Yep.
Just to see if anyone says it back.
But blessings got it covered.
Got it covered for all of us.
Yeah.
Love you too.
There you go. And thank you. So another one as a reaction to the bonus episode comes to us from Tim, who says, I literally could not wait to listen to you guys talk about this. I quit my comp match as soon as the notification popped up. You're really great at what you do.
Dude, that is like 2 or 3 seasons ago, it'd been like, oh, okay, that's cool. You quit your now you quit your comp match. Jesus. Jesus. That's some serious shit.
Oh man. Yeah, that's pretty high praise. So
yeah,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. But please, it's okay. You can finish the match. It's okay. I promise. Holy shit.
So another shout out comes to us from Jotun can be DPS.
It sure as fuck can be. Anyone who thinks otherwise is crazy. Man, you get a little, oh shit, it has incandescent on it too? Holy shit, man, dude, with some of the new fragments with sprites and shit, Jotun could be DPS.
Yeah. But they say, first time commenting, but I just wanted to tell you guys that I love your podcast. I'm currently at work baking biscuits and listening to your newest Clovis podcast. Can't wait to hear about more exos and squishy bits.
Yes. Nope. No more squishy bits for us. Squish. There's a reason I don't work in bio industries. I squishy bits don't.
Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably won't be more squishy bits. But
I don't think there will be any more squishy bits.
Yeah.
At least not out of SIVA and well, I mean, hopefully not out of SIVA anymore. And Rasputin. We'll see.
Yeah. So the last shout out for the evening comes to us from Apple Podcasts this time, where Iron Brady was kind enough to leave us a 5-star review. Thank you. And they say, I found these guys just a few weeks ago, and so far they're the only podcast I actually get excited for. If you need a fun and entertaining Destiny lore podcast, then this is it. You can tell this is just a couple of friends doing something they're passionate about, which I enjoy. Their personalities contrast perfectly, and they're both Destiny nerds. Hope you guys keep up the good work.
Oh, yay! Feel goods.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we definitely, yeah, yeah. Passionate would be a word. That's yeah, that's a word. No, yeah, we really do love doing this stuff. We just do it in our off time. We record once a week, and Myth mixes it all on his own free time and puts it out there. And yeah, we really enjoy it.
Yeah.
We like doing it.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that you have as much fun listening as we do creating. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Well, any other anything else?
That is
Any other bits, Smith?
That's the last of our shout outs for tonight. If you are interested in reaching out in some way, you can either leave a review on your platform of choice, or we are also available on Twitter at Myths and Stories with a Z instead of an S. Say we respond there when we can, and you might hear yourself on one of these shout out sections.
Yeah. Well, I guess I got to give a thank you. You know who it's going to. You've already looked up his name, haven't you?
Oh, I know it. Yeah.
Damn it! But you won't tell me, will you? Fuck this goddamn squirrel mind of mine. Jesus. All right. Well, what can I name him? What's a good, wily, coked out conspiracy name? Ted? Do we just call him Ted? I'm gonna call him Ted.
You can call him whatever you want.
Thanks, Ted, for just being as crazy as you are, man. They're really out there, man. They're coming for you. They're coming for your brain, man. All right. Myth, anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, then from all of us lore nerds, all of you guardians out there, man, we'll see you next time.